What up, though? You already know what it is. It's Real Religion with Bugsy. Right now, I'm about to talk to y'all about the Doctrine of Discovery. Actually, I'm about to read what the Doctrine of Discovery actually is to you and how it affected the United States, Australia, South Africa, and parts of indigenous people, South America. It affected everybody that was below the equator. The Doctrine of Discovery is a historical, legal, and religious concept that justifies the colonization of non-European lands and the subjugation of their indigenous inhabitants by Christian European powers. It is the foundational principle of U.S. and Canadian property law that continues to impact indigenous land right today. The origins of the Doctrine of Discovery emerged from a series of 15th century papal bulls, official decrees of the Pope, issued during the Age of Discovery. Key bulls include the Duma Varus and the Roma Paxes of 1452 and 1455, granted Portugal the right to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans, and to reduce them to perpetual slavery. The Intercartiera of 1493, issued after Christopher Columbus' voyage, it granted Spain the right to claim lands in the Americas not already possessed by the Christian prince, with the aim of spreading Christianity and Christian faith. These documents established the idea that Christian nations had a divine mandate to claim and exploit non-Christian lands and people. The Doctrine of Discovery had a profound and lasting consequences. The Tura Nullius, the doctrine, was based on the racist assumption that lands not inhabited by Christians were empty, or Tura Nullius, effectively disregarding the presence and sovereignty of indigenous people. So what the Tura Nullius meant was if you didn't know Christ, they actually considered you not a person. It became an international legal principle for among European nations regulating their competing claims to newly discovered territories. U.S. law, the doctrine was integrated into the U.S. law by the Supreme Court in 1823 case Johnson versus McIntosh. Chief Justice John Marshall ruled that European nations and the U.S. as their successor had acquired ultimate dominance over indigenous lands while Native Americans retained only a right of occupancy. This legal proceeding has been cited in U.S. court decisions as recently as 2005. City of Sherrill versus the Oni Indian Nation, continuing to influence legal battles over land right, resource extraction, and an indigenous sovereignty in the U.S., Canadian, Australian, and New Zealand. In response to sustained advocacy from indigenous people and human rights organizations, many Christian denominations have reputed the doctrine. In March of 2023, the Vatican formally reputed the Doctrine of Discovery, stating that the papal bulls did not adequately reflect the equal dignity and rights of indigenous people, and that the ideas within the doctrine are not part of the Catholic Church's teachings. However, many advocates point out that the original papal bulls have not been formally rescinded. The Doctrine of Discovery is the basis that they used to colonize and enslave people under God, under Christ. This is the justification for them saying that they don't feel bad about slavery, that indigenous people treating us like nothing, treating us as if we are subhuman, because that's exactly what the Doctrine of Discovery allowed them to do. It allowed them to treat people on the planet as if they were nothing, as if they didn't believe in Christ or they didn't know Christ. It allowed the Tura Nullius allowed them to say that even if people were there, there was no one there because no one there knew Christ. So when you sit back and you want to know, how did these things come to be? How did this country get this way? That is how it got this way. This is why they can tyrannize you and they can oppress you and not feel bad about it. Because that is the doctrine that they used from another country to take over other countries and call it legal.